man, that was some nail-biting nerves right there. We're both very technologically challenged, apparently. Hi, everyone. Oh, it's so good to see so many familiar names on the screen. Thank you, Michelle, for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. And those of you that transferred from our Facebook Live to Instagram Live through this technical challenge. So I'd like to introduce somebody who's been a part of our yoga community for many years. She just reminded me since 2015, practicing yoga with us, been on retreats, done some movement meditation workshops together. She is a vegan chef that I'm always inspired to see her posts on Instagram, especially the way she cooks for her family. There's a lot of recycling leftovers, but I'd like her to tell you more details. Introducing Jasmine Levi.
Woohoo! Thank you. Thank you. Just start with a little disclaimer. You know, chef feels like a very honorary, special, revered title. So I think I'm more of an avid home cook, but I do just love food so much. So being able to share that in this conversation is a really great opportunity. Once people get me talking about food, I usually don't shut up. So
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Our viewers are too. Raise your hand. Who's a food lover here? Got the stove. Who else has joined us? Maria Luisa. Recognize some names there? Can you see?
I do. I definitely see some of my friends. Hi, guys.
Awesome. So starting with the first question, I would love to hear how you got into, well, first of all, have you always been a plant-based?
I have not always been a plant-based eater. I have been for the past 15 years, though. So it feels like a long time.
Yeah.
It feels more normal to me than before. So I was in college when I decided to go that route. And believe it or not, I was not a cook before that time. When I came home and told my parents, this is it, I just feel in my heart that this is something I have to do and I can't ignore it anymore. My mom looked at me and she goes, sounds like you're going to have to learn to cook for yourself. So it was like a little nudge that I needed to learn how to make some meals for myself. And so it started there.
Can I backtrack just a little bit? What was the impetus for changing to plant-based eating?
This is such a good question. Believe it or not, it started with my yoga practice. Yeah. So that very same year, a few months before ditching the animal products, I had started practicing yoga. And from my very first class, I was hooked. It was hooked. I walked into Santa Monica Power Yoga on 2nd Street. Took a class one evening just thinking, okay, I'm going to work on my fitness a little bit. I was a college student, you know, I was very superficial. And I just walked out. The friend that I attended that class with is watching right now. Hi, Lindsay. And I walked out just having my heart and my mind, like, it was like those two parts of me had been to a chiropractor and we're now in perfect alignment. So after that yoga class, I just became hungry for it. And I began not only to practice yoga on the mat physically, but to read about yoga philosophy as well. And so one day I was reading about the concept of ahimsa, which for those of you that don't know is nonviolence. And in this article I was reading, the writer talked about how diet is one very easy and approachable way to practice nonviolence 3 times a day. So for me, something clicked. I had known vegans before that time, but I thought they were pretty wacky. It was not something that I was interested in or curious about. I was just pretty judgy about. Uh, but because I was already into my yoga practice, there was a link there. There was something I could find already that, I don't know, that there was meaning in. So so that kind of, that was the first step in, was reading that article that day.
Wow. The 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's the thing, is it felt good, and it continues to feel good every single day. So I just keep making the same choice.
So what has influenced your cooking, in vegan food?
Um, the influences of my cooking, I would say, well, first and foremost, it's really important to me to make food that tastes good. So I have been to the extreme in health, where I wasn't using any salt or any oil in my cooking at all. And I've come back from that edge a little bit, because I want things to taste familiar. I want people to eat a pasta that tastes the same as a pasta in an Italian restaurant. It just doesn't have meat in it or dairy. Um, so I do use oil, and I do use salts, and I take inspiration from all the different world cuisines. I love Indian food, Mexican food, Chinese food, Japanese, you name it. So I'll find something plant-based or plant-based approachable in each of those cuisines.
And so let's go into your lifestyle as a newish mom. How old is your baby now?
She'll be 2 in the summer.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're pretty busy cooking meals for your family. What are some favorite go-to, maybe quick and healthy vegan dishes that you love to prepare for your family?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, quick and easy. I'm notoriously slow. I'm notoriously slow. Um, quick and easy. I, you know, to tell you the truth, I'm such a pasta lover. So pasta's kind of a go-to if I'm not inspired, or I don't have any new ideas to play with. If I just think about, what I have in the fridge, I always end up making a new pasta dish. So there's endless possibilities there. I love curries, both Thai and Indian. Um, those come together fairly quickly if you're good with a knife, if you can chop those veggies pretty fast. And if you're not good with a knife and you have some pre-chopped frozen veggies in the freezer, that saves a lot of time. That saves a lot of work. So that's a little hack right there.
Nice. You're going into my next question. Yeah, I was going to ask, what are some preparation tips or ways to save time, especially for busy moms, working moms, now even at home in social isolation? It seems
Yeah.
like a lot of things to do with homeschooling, some parents with older kids and stuff like that. Feeling like you maybe have to cook more meals than usual.
Oh yeah. I'm cooking 3 times a day. But not always from scratch. So don't get scared when you hear that. So that is, I'm about to answer your questions in terms of repurposing and leftovers. It doesn't always have to take so long. So for instance, a couple days ago, I made cauliflower tacos, and I had roasted such a large head of cauliflower for these tacos that I had a ton left over. And the very next day, I was like, what do I do for lunch? So I look in the fridge and I see this leftover cauliflower. I see a bag of spinach, and I see a salad dressing that I had made a few days before. So all I really did was throw a cooked roasted veggie in with a raw salad, toss it with some dressing, and call it a day. So, I mean, there was no chopping needed. There was no mixing of dressing needed. So that's a quick one, is just to take what cooked things you have in the fridge, and you can add them to a raw green and make a salad. First and foremost, I would say always cook more than you're going to eat in the first sitting. Always. Mm-hmm. Leftovers are king. I mean, how do you make a small pot of soup anyway, or like a small risotto? That doesn't exist, right? So just go big or go home. Stay home. If you live alone, I say portion out the leftovers into individual servings, and freeze them so then you can take them out as you need them. And if you don't live alone, those leftovers are going to be gone in a day or two anyway, so you're fine. At the very least, as I already mentioned, you've got lunch covered for the next day, which for me is a savior because I don't want to prep lunch when I'm hungry. I really, really don't. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not so pleasant to be around for my family when I'm hungry. So another thing is when you prep simple ingredients without flavoring them for a recipe. Something I've been doing lately is cooking a lot of quinoa. So if I cook a huge pot of quinoa, and I do what I just mentioned, I freeze it in small baggies, like quart-sized baggies for the freezer, and I lay them flat and I stack them so they kind of they freeze in like, I don't know how to, like bricks. Mm-hmm. And then if I take one out the night ahead and I want to make a quinoa salad the next day, I don't actually have to cook the quinoa for the quinoa salad. It's done.
That's awesome.
So that really, I haven't had to think about cooking quinoa in months. It's fabulous. What else? Those
are wonderful strategies.
I've come to them by accident and after years and years of wishing I had more time. So I've sort of stumbled across these strategies. But another thing that I've learned this year is that, since washing and chopping vegetables is so time consuming, it's great if you have a moment and you've got a fridge full of, whole veggies. Go ahead and chop them and store them in a like a Tupperware container full of water, and they won't dry out, and then they're ready for cooking or for snacking, dipping in hummus. Or as my Israeli contingent who's watching would like to say, hummus. I definitely like keeping some raw veggies ready and available for that, or just to throw in the saucepan for cooking.
Like carrots, celery, or do you have
carrots, celery, absolutely. Cucumber does really well. Although if you don't store it in that water, it will definitely dry out. So it's a good trick. It really is. And again, as I mentioned before, there's no shame in buying bagged frozen vegetables. It saves a lot of time, and they happen to be frozen at their peak level of freshness. So you're not losing nutrients by buying the frozen stuff. It's okay.
That's good to know.
Yes. Yes, it
is. Awesome.
Definitely.
Especially these days, stock up.
Say that again?
Especially these days when we gotta stock up.
Yeah, we gotta stock up and we gotta make it last.
Yeah. So these times I'm getting a lot of questions from the community about immune system boosting foods and ingredients. Are there any particular ingredients that you staple to add for that extra oomph for health?
Yes. My go-to is garlic. Garlic all the way, all the garlic. Just eat it all. Make your partner eat it too, and then you won't have a problem. But in all seriousness, there have been countless studies done investigating the effectiveness of garlic on strengthening the immune system. And it seems to really buffer things, really boost things. It's a powerful enhancer. I don't know if you remember vividly, but back when the H1N1 flu was making the rounds, I was, it was pretty serious. Not as serious as this, but it was a concern of the community at the time. And I was a teaching assistant in a 6th grade classroom back then. And 3/4 of the class became severely ill with H1N1.
Wow.
And because I really wanted to avoid getting it, I was taking garlic supplements every single day for 2 months while it was running rampant. And I tell you, I didn't have so much as a sniffle. Like really, nothing. So, that's anecdotal evidence, of course. I get that. But garlic's delicious, so what do we have to lose, really?
Plain pasta.
Yeah. Also, berries, fresh or frozen, full of antioxidants. It reduces inflammation. Leafy greens, again, fresh or frozen. full of important minerals, calcium, iron, and citrus for vitamin C. And bonus points if you can combine your citrus with your leafy greens. So if you squeeze some lemon on top of your spinach or broccoli, then your body can absorb that iron better. So that's a good little trick to have up your sleeve.
Mm. That's awesome. I'm getting hungry now. So what are, and I'm going to ask you to type this in later for our viewers. Those of you catching us right now, this is Jasmine Levi, vegan. I'm going to call you a chef.
Okay.
Lifestyle promoter, sharing her tips for healthy eating and reviving leftovers. Are there some sources that we can find of yours online? Recipes, or I know you have creative projects that you're in the process of.
Yeah. It seems that my creative projects are always a little bit on pause because it doesn't matter how many hours there are in the day. It seems that I hate to use this excuse, but it seems like motherhood takes up so much of the day. So whatever's left is for self-care, really, but especially in these times. But I am working on a blog. It's coming together very slowly. I don't yet have any recipes posted or available, but when they are, I will share them. I will share a link to the blog from my Instagram.
In the meantime, you can follow her. There she is on the Jasmine's Organic Kitchen.
Got it.
Instagram. And we will definitely keep updated of her recipes and ideas. You shared a recipe a while back.
I did. It was on your newsletter. It was a soup.
Yeah.
I think it was a pumpkin soup because it was for Thanksgiving season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's go into non-vegan eaters. You have those people over for dinner?
I not only have them over for dinner, I live with one. My husband is definitely not vegan. Surprise, surprise. But he knew early on when we got together that the home was going to be a vegan space. So, because it was just so important to me to, emotionally and just to like, for me, I'm so doing this for health, but also, as I mentioned before, really just for the concept of nonviolence and out of respect and love for animals, that it would hurt me if there was meat in the house. So that's something I asked for and that he lovingly gave. But I love feeding him and he loves eating. So this works out very well for both of us. And I am lucky in that he's not too picky in his flavor preferences. So as I was saying before, that I draw influence from all these different world cuisines, he's happy to eat all of them. And I take it upon myself to stay creative and not make the same dinner night after night, and it's fun for both of us. So let's see. I know you wanted me to say some of the particular dishes.
Well, maybe this will kind of guide it a bit, because one of the most common questions that vegans get is, how do you get your protein?
Oh, my goodness.
Him being vegan, what satiates that aspect of the diet that you cook?
Well, I definitely include protein in all my meals. But what people who are not vegan really need to know is that if you're, and I know this is going to sound nuts, because in our society and with the standard American diet, we're just told we need protein, protein, protein. But the thing is that Americans overconsume protein. So, and this actually leads to disease. And I'm sure a lot of people watching already know that. But there's protein in everything. There's protein in broccoli. There's protein in rice, which meat eaters don't generally know because they think it only comes from meat. But if you're eating enough calories in the course of a day, and we certainly are, then you're getting enough protein. You're not suffering. But in terms of being satiated, I think it's about both the proteins, which we do a lot of lentils. We love our beans in this house. We like tofu, tempeh, But I would say, more on the beans, lentils side. And I think that having complex carbohydrates that are really nutrient dense is very important. So we do sweet potatoes, we do potatoes, we do brown rice, we do quinoa, and I mean, he's never hungry after dinner. He'll take as much as he wants and stop when he's full, which is great. And he's a much bigger person than I am, so it takes more to fill him up. But he never finishes dinner and says he's still hungry. And as I said, cook a lot, cook a lot.
Thank you for bringing that up. How protein is found in greens.
Yeah.
Things that we might call as side dishes.
Yeah. Definitely.